Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for July 29th through August 4th. And this week brings opportunities for healing your heart. We have a new moon in Leo. We have Mercury Mercury in Virgo stationing retrograde. And we also have several aspects that we're going to talk about that involve Venus. So lots of themes this week around connecting with what it means to be yourself, what it means to be connected to your true self versus a performance or a mask of the self. And then, of course, how that connects in with relationships and how you show up around other people. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and I'm also an astrologer. I am excited to share the astrology of this week with you from a psychological perspective. Okay, so last week was possibly a bit, I would say the last couple weeks, a bit intense and sort of sharp feeling. We had Mars, Uranus happening. We had the sun moving into Leo. Happy birthday to my Leo people. And we also had the sun make its exact opposition to Pluto. And so that process is waning, is outgoing. And I think this week there's going to be sort of a settling in, and we're always processing things, I think. And this week, I think, is about settling in and doing a bit of processing and sorting around what erupted for you, what was exposed for you over the last week or so, last couple of weeks. And so the broader context of this week that is happening really over the course of this year that's getting closer and more exact is we have Jupiter in Gemini with Mars making a square to Saturn. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about this in other videos, but I want you to keep in mind that this entire year of 2024, we are experiencing and embodying the aspect of Jupiter square Saturn, which is the creative principle, Jupiter, the expansive growth mindset, wanting to take on more, wanting to create, that combined with Saturn, which is the planet of structure and limitation and the containment for creation. So this square, there's always a bit of tension with squares. It sort of requires us to hold and compromise and discern and figure out where we want to focus our energy. And this aspect in particular is very focusing. It's very connected to the creative process, how we bring things into being through both inspiration as well as limitation, and how limitation, Saturn, can feel like it's stagnating us, like it's creating a vice around us, but also it can be helpful as well in that it creates a guide or a channel or a need to put something into action because of the sheer limitation. And so I'm really feeling into that. That's connected into this week sort of as it's like the landscape of the painting for this week. It's sort of like the background that everything is set behind, in front of. So we're feeling into that vision restriction, making it happen kind of vibe this entire year. Now, we have this new moon, and before we talk about, though, a piece of this new moon that's connected that we want to feel into is we're having Venus in Leo make a square to Uranus and Taurus. So Venus square Uranus. This is a very creative aspect. This is really about reinvention, renewing, refreshing your life, refreshing the way that you feel beauty and pleasure and enjoyment, refreshing your relationships, and refreshing the way that you feel connected with other people. And the delight that you can feel when you show up in a way that is authentic and spontaneous and creative, and also, of course, the ways that maybe you don't feel that, the ways that you feel this week, this aspect can illuminate the ways that maybe you feel like things are stuck or restrictive, or it can kind of, so Uranus tends to reveal where we've maybe been doing something consistently over a long period of time and it has worked for us, and now maybe it may not be working. It's not necessarily that it's like not working, because Saturn is more about something not working and needing to be changed, but Uranus is more about the questioning of, why am I doing this? It's asking us to be purposeful, to be intentional, and to be authentic, and to connect with our sense of choice and autonomy, and is this what I actually want? I think that Venus-Uranus can really be a moment where it connects you into what brings you alive. And there's this theme also of honoring your need for divergence, your need for stepping outside of what is expected, what you should do, what is normal, whatever that means, what is typical. So this is really about honoring what makes you unique and creative as an individual, your innate divergence. And I don't know what that's going to look like for you. And we know that it's probably going to involve something around Venusian themes of relationships, beauty, aesthetics, style even. Venus is also connected to the way that we make money, the way that we relate to money, and our sense of self-worth and value, and how that connects into how we feel purposeful as well as joyful in our life. Venus is also going to make a trine to Chiron this week, and I really love this because a trine is an easy, harmonious, flowing aspect. So in some ways it's easy to miss because it doesn't require anything of us. And I think this is a really beautiful opportunity to bring in a sense of healing and tending to something that you desire to, I would say, even look at how maybe what makes you vulnerable, or what is tender, what is maybe something that requires a lot of attention in your life, how that maybe can bring a sense of healing or even joy, or maybe that your hardships in life have required you to live your life in a way that maybe brings more beauty or connection into your life. And of course, that's not always the case, but sometimes surprising things happen. Sometimes our healing journey surprises us. And I think that's definitely possible this week with Venus-Uranus. So let's see. Yeah, Venus-Chiron. Chiron is about healing and tending to our vulnerabilities. It is the part of us that hurts, that doesn't always go away, and that is not bad, but that we can tend to what it is that hurts, and then our tending to it changes something, that there is a transformation there. I think there's also a sense of fostering tolerance for there to be disagreement or agitation in relationships, because we're talking about Chiron and Aries. And so I think when we have Venus trine Chiron and we have Venus square Uranus, there can be opportunities to look at how you cope and deal with change and transition in relationship, and how you meet where the other person that you're connected to maybe has a different experience, and how you can either delight in that or tolerate that, and then meet that, and also make that so that you are able to express your own experience as well, and that neither person needs to be harmed by that exchange. So again, these are all just just this may land, this may not. I think this really depends on, especially this aspect, if where Venus and Uranus are configured in your chart, whether that's going to be something more dramatic for you personally or maybe someone in your life. Now, on Sunday, Venus moves into Virgo. So from Leo to Virgo. And Venus will be in Virgo from Sunday, August 4th through August 30th. So just about a month or so. And we've had Venus in Leo really emphasizing the relational theme of giving and receiving love, generosity, affection, attention, the sense of authentic self-expression, and how when we show up in the way that is true and authentic and spontaneous and creative, that fosters a sense of connection. And also, of course, the last month, these themes with Venus and Leo, the ways where maybe that doesn't happen, and looking at how we modify ourselves in order to receive love, and that, of course, that is that modification or masking or performance sometimes is needed and appropriate. But I think that this Venus journey over the last month or so has been always, Venus and Leo is really about, is it a choice for you to show up or to have the persona or mask? And that you get to decide when that happens, and that you get to decide when and how that mask comes off. Now, Venus in Virgo has a different tone to it. So Venus in Virgo is about the practicalities and the details of relationship, and how we go through relationship in a way that feels purposeful and like it is honoring others. Virgo is very much about healing, ritual, routine, and processes. And so with Venus moving into Virgo, there's this theme of shifting our sense of relationship, but also our relationship to beauty and aesthetics and pleasure, shifting that more into a purposeful sort of focus. Like, okay, what is it that actually literally grounds you? Those kinds of things. And let's see, what else do I want to say about that? So Venus is still in Leo when we have at the moment of the new moon. So it's really interesting. We actually have a lot of things that are happening on Sunday this week. So there's kind of this lead up to the new moon on Sunday the 4th, to Venus moving into Virgo on Sunday the 4th, and then Mercury will also station retrograde on Sunday the 4th. So a lot of things are happening. And it's really interesting that the new moon is in Leo. Venus is making this transition from Leo to Virgo. And then Mercury is stationing retrograde in Virgo and will retrograde back into Leo. So this Leo-Virgo part of the sky, that part of your chart, there's a lot that's happening here. And I think it's so fascinating that there's this striking difference between Leo and Virgo, whereas Leo is about the creative principle, the expressiveness, the spontaneity, and also very oriented toward the need for affection, the need for love, and how we come alive and how we blossom when we feel loving care. Whereas Virgo is more about the systems and the processes, and I would even say sort of the structure that helps us feel good. And this can be in a more mundane way in the routine or the systems that we have set up in our life. And Virgo is also connected to the spiritual realm in that it's connected to ritual and healing. Because rituals are just a routine, a system that has a meaning, that has a purpose, that has an intentionality, that is connected with the divine or the esoteric in some sort of way. And so there's this straddling of the sense of self-connection and then the sense of, okay, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to create purpose in my life? And so, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the new moon in particular. So the new moon is happening at 12 degrees of Leo on Sunday, August 4th at 4:13 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. Venus is there at 29 degrees of Leo. So it's a little farther away, but still very neatly in that sign. And Leo is about giving, receiving love, affection, attention, secure attachment. It's about being received for who you are as a unique individual. It's also about this polarity of performance versus authenticity. The trap that all of us can fall into when we're talking about Leo energy is the desire to feel that warmth of affection. Like it's a real human need, a non-negotiable need, that if that isn't met or if there's an anxiety that we won't be received in the way that we want to, that there can be a falling into creating a persona or a performance or doing what we think other people want us to do or be. And that creates a very hollow experience, because then that other person or those people are not actually connecting in with you. There's sort of like a wall that gets created, and especially if that person or those people like that facade that you've created, that also feels very hollow because they like something that is not you. And it creates this feeling that maybe if you were who you are authentically, that they may not even like that. And so this can be very explicit. This can be something that happens very strongly in a person's life. And it can also be very subtle and something that we do, I think that we all do unconsciously. And so it's not something that is a bad thing. It becomes painful when it's something that we do chronically, excessively, unconsciously over a long period of time. And so we're all sort of getting an opportunity to feel into our relationship to authenticity versus performance, masking versus unmasking. And this has been present really since the sun moved into Leo last week. And then we're getting this shot of new energy, this new beginning with the new moon here. So this will continue to unfold and elaborate over the next month during this lunar cycle. And then also because Mercury is retrograding back to this spot, back to Leo, there's also a revisioning or a refreshing energy that's happening here around how it is that you connect to your sense of true self. And for a lot of folks, there may be a questioning of what that even looks like or how to even know how that feels. And I think that's a part of this too, is that we may not even realize where something is amiss, or where there's a sense of trueness or integrity that is ready to be integrated, that may come up unexpectedly this way. I think especially because we're talking about Venus square Uranus this week, there might be some sort of surprise element to this. Let's see, what else do I want to say about this? The other thing that I wanted to bring in too, that I don't always think about this, but I happened to think about it when I was preparing for this weekly, so I wanted to share it with you, is in Indian astrology and Jyotish astrology, sometimes called Vedic astrology, there are these they're sort of like mini zodiac signs, or lunar mansions. And so there are parts of the zodiac that have a certain quality associated to them. And this is important when we're looking at where the moon is placed. And this new moon is happening at what is called, these things are called nakshatras. And this new moon happens at the Aslesha nakshatra, which the Aslesha nakshatra symbol is a snake, particularly a coiled snake. And it's known as the clinging star because the snake sort of like clings until it is released. And it's a symbol of the powers of poison and medicine and transformation. And so I think, like, I'm really feeling into that with this particular new moon here, that there is this potential for transformation around your sense of self, around your sense of relating to others and to yourself, and how you show up in a way that feels good for you. Okay. Also this week, of course, is Mercury will station retrograde. That means that the retrograde process begins. This Sunday, August 4th, Mercury will be retrograde from the 4th of August until the 28th of August. It will station at 4 degrees of Virgo, and then it will go direct at 21 of Leo. So we have the beginning, very beginning degrees of Virgo into the latter chunk of Leo that's getting this retrograde process. So retrogrades are typically about reviewing, contemplation, an internalized function of the mind, which is a fantastic time for looking back at things that you've been wanting to do, to research, to contemplate. It is a fantastic time for going within. So if we think about Mercury, what Mercury actually is, it is a symbol of the mind, the linear thought process. It's also a symbol of the things that bridge us from one land or one place to another. So it has this transcendent function. It has this bridging effect. And it allows us to connect the pieces together. So when this happens, when this retrograde happens, the retrograde is a symbol of moving backward and moving inward. So our sense of doing and communicating and thinking is more internalized. So it's like an introverted sort of Mercury, an introverted mind. We can think of it that way. And this is happening in Leo and Virgo. And so again, this like rethinking how you want your life to be structured and how you want to connect with others in a way that really allows you to blossom and shine. And this Mercury retrograde is involving a square to Uranus when Mercury moves back into Leo. And so that's not happening this week, but that's a part of the process. And I think it's so synchronistic that we have Venus making a square to Uranus this week when Mercury retrogrades, and then they switch. So Venus will move into Leo, Venus will move into Virgo, Mercury will move into Leo, and then Mercury will make that square to Uranus. So there is something here around this Mercury retrograde, around contemplating how you want to bring new and fresh energy into your life, how, especially around something that maybe you've been wanting to do, because astrology doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's always showing us what is happening now based on what has been happening in our lives in a literal sense. And so these are some things that I'm thinking about. I think that this week is going to feel refreshing, possibly. And I think that there's also a sense of integrating what came up over the last week. let's see, as I'm shuffling the tarot cards here, other themes that I was thinking of when I was looking at this astrology is that there's a core need for you to feel like you exist in relationships. Like the real you is in the relationship. And I think that when we have a lot of superficial interactions, and not that those are superficial in a value judgment way, but superficial in that there is not really an opportunity to go deeper, to really connect, that can start to feel dull. And so this week is about bringing yourself into your relationships. This is a vulnerable process to be seen for who you are. And this week is also about navigating that and knowing, finding out, figuring out, looking at how and when you choose to be yourself, and to know that you will not always be received in the way that you want to, and that is also okay. And then you get to choose based on that reception that you receive how you want to be, how you want to orient, where you want to put yourself. And you get to decide how and when you mask, how and when you perform, and what that looks like for you. We all mask. It is a necessary social process. But we need to be who we are with those who can see us when we remove our mask, and delight in the way that they see us. That's really important. I think that that's a theme this week as well, is delight and joy and what that looks like for you, and reconnecting to that place inside of yourself. Okay, so I'm pulling 3 tarot cards. This is a time for you to find as best you can, a way to connect with your inner experience right now, exactly as it is, without pushing away or trying to make anything different. You can connect in with your body, your breath, sensation on your skin, an inner feeling, or a sound or a scent around you. And as best you can, find a place of inner knowing in yourself, where that may be, whether that's in your body or in your mind, or an image of a place that you like to go. And from here you can ask a question or bring a circumstance forward. And you can also pick a card, 1 through 3, to be your special card to speak to you directly. Okay. Move this. Okay. First card is the Lover's card. Very appropriate for Venus, I think. So in this card, so this is the Tarot of Spells and Potions deck that I use most often these days. In the card, there's an image of 2 figures. It looks like they're in a bedroom, and one person with lighter hair is doing the other person's hair. The other person has a darker and shorter hair. And, oh yeah, okay, so the one person is putting the other person's hair in like hair curlers, and they're like doing makeup and stuff, and they're sitting on the bed, and it looks very there's sort of this kinship, familiar sort of quality that they have towards one another. And then out the window from the bedroom, there is a figure with wings. And I wonder what draws you in this card, what you think of. In the traditional symbolism, the Lover's card is about relationships, of course, and it's about, so appropriate for what we've been talking about, it's about how you show up as yourself, and it's asking you to choose yourself first, always, and that paradoxically is what allows you to be in relationship, to bring yourself to the relationship. And it's a reminder that when you accommodate overly for someone else or something else, or you try to fall in line with what's expected, that it actually makes it very difficult for you to connect in a strongly bonded way. This card is really about the strong bonds that we have, and it's also a paradox in that the more that someone means to us, the more susceptible we are to compromising for that person or people, because we don't want to lose the relationship. And so this card is a reminder that the more connected and solid and long-term a relationship or relationships become, the more important it is that you choose yourself. And that doesn't mean that you never compromise, but it's choosing yourself and choosing your making decisions from a place of integrity and from a place of standing on your own autonomy, integrity, and values. And I pulled this card reversed. So this is telling me that there's something here around, it feels very Venus-Uranus. There's like a flipping or transition, or there's something here that wants to be sort of reworked or reconnected or reset here. And maybe that is a part of your Mercury retrograde process. We may go back to this card. I'll say also the winged figure, there is support here for you, and there is divine guidance, whether that is ancestors or spiritual guidance team, or simply the teleological purposefulness structure of the universe, of things working together to support you. So there is a sense of goodness and supportiveness towards reconnecting with yourself here. Okay, so second card is the Eight of Pentacles. This card is about effort, hard work, long processes. The Eight of Pentacles is a reminder that you are maybe possibly at the beginning or the midway, and there is always more room to go, to grow, and that may require a bit of efforting or climbing. In this card, in this deck, there's a figure who is like on it might be a rock climbing wall or a mountain, but they're climbing up something, and they have like a harness so that they're supported in case they lose their footing. And I think it's so interesting. There's so many little areas for them to grab. There's like pentacles, there's rocks, there's crystals, there's like a multitude of things to help them move up, move forward. And so if we take this symbolically, there's support here, there's access, there's a lot of ways that you could make your way through through this process. But at its core, this card is a card of efforting, of trying, of doing the thing that you need to do. It tends to be, the pentacles tend to speak to material themes and work and the structure of our lives. This card in particular, I usually connect it with work or vocation, and that certainly could be the case, especially if you drew this as your card. But I'm thinking about the relational quality of the Lover's card, and so this might be like working through bit by bit whatever this is that the Lovers means to you, whether that is working things through in a more external way via a relationship or relationships, or your own internal process of how you connect to yourself. Okay, the last card is the King of Pentacles. And so in this card, there's a figure with a pointy hat on, like a witch's hat, and they have what looks like either a wand or a rattle, and they have one pentacle in their other hand, and they look quite stoic, actually. They look like they're either doing some very like a ritual that's very subtle, or they're like about to, and there's sort of this calm, determined air about them. So the King suit in the Tarot is about culmination, power, autonomy, influence. It's about having, like, really, it's very Saturnian in some ways, because it's about having the responsibility over yourself and maybe over others as well. And the Pentacles, again, is about the structure of life, material matters. This could be a symbol of culmination and responsibility at work, around money, around caretaking. And this is about you being in a leadership role, whether that is literally or being the leader of your life. And I really like that this is the end of the card here, because this feels very appropriate with the Lovers being about discerning yourself versus other in relationship, and that is always an ongoing process, and that is maybe the focus this week on, like, really getting into the nitty-gritty of what it looks like for you to be connected to yourself. And then there is power and vitality that arises from that process, and that we don't do that alone, that we actually become more connected to ourselves via relationship, which is so ironic, right? That we actually need other people in order to get feedback, to see ourselves more, and then we can do our own internal psychological process, and then that brings a sense of vitality and a sense of, like, I feel like the King of Pentacles is really connected to vitality and resilience and being able to make choices for yourself. There's a strength and a power there. Okay, that is your reading for this week. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, I always love to hear what is happening for you, what resonated, what you think of when we've been talking about this astrology and the tarot. Again, my name is Shawna McGrath. I am a psychotherapist and an astrologer. If you want to find out more about me and my work, you can find me on my website, theastropsyche.com. I am sending you lots of love and wishing you a wonderful week, a wonderful new moon, and I'll see you soon.